Hi guys, Adam here. In our last video, we created some gauges. They're not on the sheet yet. And this is another visual video where we're going to make things look a lot better and create another piece of conditional formatting. And then there are only going to be a couple videos left where we create some more graphs and make this thing finally come to life. So with that being said, I'm going to be clicking around a lot, but hopefully you can follow. A lot of it is just adjustments. One of the things that I like to do right off the bat is create a little bit of separation between things. And the way that I do that is by making row heights, I guess, pretty small. That might be 4, creating separation between the word filters and the filter list. And maybe I'm making this column, I don't know, 10, or maybe I'll make this 4. That'll be 4. This will be 10. Just gonna color. I'm gonna click on B and hold Control. Might be Command for a Mac, and click that. I'm just gonna fill these things in white so that I can see the separation there. This is merged, so maybe I'll unmerge that, move it over, and let's go through. I don't know, N. N is good. I'm gonna change the row heights of all these things, maybe all the way down to here to like something thicker, 27. That's pretty big. Why? Oh, position was in that column. Move these down. Now let's think about how we want to organize this player card a little bit. I have an idea in mind, and I'm thinking that I want. Here, let me just move this stuff a little bit. I'm just moving this out of the way to kind of conceptualize how I want to organize this thing. Okay, so let's go C through about F there. I'm going to merge and center that. I'm going to have this equal whatever this is. This is going to be the person's name. Oh, I meant to do dollar signs. Again, this is a really personal thing, so when I'm done going through this, you may decide you want it completely different. Let's make this 20. Maybe I'm just going to change. I'm going to change the font holistically. I clicked on this. I think last time I used something called band script. I'm going to do the same thing here. Make the font a little bit different. Let's highlight this in yellow for now. And then let's change the column widths to all be the same. And I think that an appropriate width is probably 12 or 13 or something along those lines. So I'm just going to go all the way down here. Let's make it 12. Everything's the same size. What happened to my, oh, there it is. Okay, perfect. Now maybe the picture is going to go here. Here, let me move this stuff out of the way. It's a little bit messy. I'm dragging stuff, moving it around. As long as it's organized and you know what it means, you should be okay. And don't remove anything, don't overwrite anything, but if you click on these crosshairs and move it, it won't affect calculations. Let's see, what do I want to do here? I'm going to color that. Color this maybe a different color. Let's say it's gray. Let's go gray. The photo will go here. Maybe there will be some position. And you know what? I'm going to remove the hometown for now because it's not that important. I cleared those contents. This is kind of the person's profile area. Looks like I need one more slot. So let's do this, make all this gray, double click on this. Doesn't look like this is, increase the font size, 14 there. Put it in the middle, height-wise of the cell. All right, so now we have a decent like profile kind of area. Maybe I want to highlight this area, maybe a slightly different color. That's where the profile goes. And we'll deal with, you see borders around the headshot right now, and it's not organized in a very good way. I'll do the next video I do will be organization of this headshot to make it look a little bit nicer. You put these in the middle, I don't really know. Okay, now let's start doing some readiness stuff and do some conditional formatting on that. I'm going to do this, the same width as this for now, and this will probably change. Maybe do that color. Say this is readiness. Make it bold, that band script, maybe it's 20. Put it up in the middle there. Let's color it white. And now underneath this area, let's make this white just so it looks a little bit nicer for now. Underneath this area, let's put our readiness stuff. I don't know if I have a readiness score on here. I might have to calculate that. All right, so we're going to have to do at least one calculation here, and that's okay. Then let's go muscle soreness, energy, stress. Ooh, muscle soreness. This is the value of the person, and this is the comparison value here. I'm dragging them. And then maybe energy is next. Stress is after that. Again, I'm just dragging these things around. Maybe sleep quality is after that. All right, so far we're looking pretty good, and maybe confidence is at the end. Just dragging the values, and we can check this. We're looking at confidence. This one, oh, I don't know what I clicked there. This one, we're looking at sleep quality. It aligns with sleep quality. You can check that by looking inside your formulae, but I don't want to make this video too long. This is kind of annoying me, so I'm going to select these cells here, make them a number, and remove one of the decimal points. And let's put these all in the middle. So middle, middle. Maybe we make these bold, and let's highlight all these and make sure that they're the band script, and let's go for 14. Double click on this to make it a little bit longer. Okay, they're not in the middle. Middle, okay. Let's drag all this down a little bit more. Now we need to calculate a readiness score, which is going to be the exact same as this formula or any of these formulae because they all work the same and they're all in our database. Copy this, paste it up here. But now instead of muscle soreness, I want readiness score. Perfect. I'm going to copy this and paste it up here. It's going to be exactly the same. We want all the criteria to remain the same, etc. Let me drag this down because it's longer. Oh boy, there are a lot of muscle sorenesses. And yeah, there's a lot in this formula. So one quick way to do this is if I highlight these two cells, find, replace, I'm going to replace the word muscle soreness with readiness score. And these are the column headers in my database, which is being indicated here in my table daily muscle soreness right there. That's the table column header in my database. I'm replacing the muscle soreness header with readiness score header. Click that, replace all. Now all of these should change to readiness score, and they do. I'm going to select all these, maybe tilt them sideways. I just made them italic, holding down Control and clicking I. And now I'm going to copy this, paste it up here, call it readiness score. Now we have our data. Let's color this, or let's make this all maybe like a light gray for now. Okay. Now let's make this look cool. Okay. One thing that I like to do when I organize data in this way is I like to do a conditional formatting that is using data bars, and I like to use percent differences so that everything is kind of normalized. So the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to calculate pretty much this readiness score right here, which is the person's readiness score. In this, let me remove this. Well, in any case, this is the person's readiness score for this day, and I want to see how it compares to, right now, this is his average readiness score, because our comparison is self. It's his average readiness score over the entire year. And regardless of the comparison, I want to see a percent difference from this readiness score of today versus whatever we're comparing it to. And if I make this position, now we're comparing it to the positional group for this day, and pretty much whatever the case is, I want to see a percent difference. Now, to do that, I'm going to do a calculation in this cell right here. I'm going to do equals, and then I'm going to do this D15 minus this in parentheses over this again. So D15 minus E15 over E15. And I'm going to say before this, if error, if there's an error with this, make it 0. Let's say do 0 for now. Click OK. Now I have a value. This would indicate, if I make this a percentage just to show, that this readiness score is 14.63% below the position average on this day. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to highlight all these cells, and I'm going to right-click and paste special, the formula. So now this formula is going into all these cells, and now we have percent differences in all these cells. I do not care about the formatting because I'm going to apply conditional formatting that overwrites what is in here. So next step is I'm going to select all these cells, go to conditional formatting, and I'm going to set up my data bars. So that's in here, data bars. And look, if you kind of scroll over things, they'll automatically do some stuff for you. I don't want any of those. I'm going to go to more rules. So yes, I do want a data bar. Stay there. The minimum, I want it to be a number. And I want it to be, I don't know, -1 is fine. It means minus 100%. So if someone is 100% below whatever this is, if this value is 100% below whatever this is, it'll cap out at the end, and it'll the scale will be normalized in between here and there. Now, I want the maximum to be 1. That's 100%. So if someone's, again, 100%, so if someone's 100% above whatever this is, then it'll max out at the end there. And that's enough for me for clinical relevance to cap out. Like any higher than that, it's all, not that it's all the same, but it's all meaningful in more or less the same way. So now for fill, I'm going to do a gradient fill, and I'm going to make it green. This is the positive direction. Now it's going to ask for, if you want to, you can do a negative value in axis, and I'm going to do that. Oh, and it's already there, but I want the fill color to be red if it's in the negative direction. And now it's asking me where I want the axis to be. And I want it to be in the middle of the cell. So the axis is always going to be going down the middle of the cell. And depending on whether the number is negative or positive, it's either going to be red going negative or green going positive. And the magnitude is determined by the percentage that is in here. Black is a pretty strong axis color. I might make it like a lighter gray. And I'm going to click OK. And now when I've done that, you see how the bars start showing up. Some are negative. There's one that's a little bit positive. It's about 7% positive. And notice the difference is small between those two numbers. I'm going to go to Manage Rules, go into here because I forgot to say Show as Bar Only. I don't want the numbers showing. Click Show Bar Only. Apply that. And now I have data bars. And if I maybe get a more drastic example, it'll appear better. Let's see if I compare him to himself. A little bit more drastic, not that drastic, maybe 12.5, 2017, I don't know. There, now you start seeing, wow, he had a 1, the average was 5.9, and now you're starting to see some larger changes there. So now we have our readiness area, kind of. We have conditional formatting there. Now, underneath that, let's start going, let's do training load. I'm just going to copy what I did here, paste it. I'm going to call this training load. And now we can start organizing our training load stuff. So at SRP, and maybe I'm just, well, we already have our gauges set up, so we might not need this information up here. It's more of a placeholder. So I'm going to move this SRP. Maybe that's the first thing that we care about. And I'm going to move this value, or maybe I'll move both these values at once down here. And again, so this is the SRP value for the person. This is whatever the average or whatever we're comparing it to. Let me close this. This is really big. Then let's go through RPE. Again, I'm just dragging things. That's the person's value. This is the average value or the comparison value. And we have duration. And this is the person's value. This is the comparison value. And I think I'm going to try this. But if I just copy these 3 things, and if I highlight this and paste formatting, now it kind of looks the same. Let me make that gray, and now I'm going to copy this cell also, and I'm going to highlight these three, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to paste the formula. And since I already copied the formatting, the conditional formatting applies, and now we have the same thing for training load. I double click on this because it's aggravating me. Okay, so now we have a little bit of visualization going on here, which is cool. What I'm thinking in this area is I'm going to do some text logic to describe what the comparisons are, because there are so many different ways that we can compare information in the way that we built this. And the next thing that I want to do is maybe we'll set up an area for our gauges. I'm just going to move this for now. I just realized that we calculated the readiness score in this, but I already had those values. And the way that we can do this is let's just start setting up what we want our gauges or our gauge areas to look like. And I'm thinking about it now. Hij, let's do this. To readiness gauge. Again, you're going to want to play around with this. I'm just kind of, the visualization part of it and how you want it to look is a very personal thing. I'm just aligning these now in the center of the cell. I'm going to copy this, paste it over. This is the other gauge we have, the SRPE gauge. I clicked on this, hold down Control or Command, click on that. I'm going to put it the same color as what it is for the name. Maybe we do the same type of deal here where we, again, so I'm holding, I'm dragging, I'm selecting all these cells. I'm holding down Control or Command on a Mac, selecting all these cells, make it gray. And these are areas for our gauges to go inside. And we can copy them and paste them. And I'm going to make this white. I'm going to undo this, unmerge that. Because what I'm thinking now, at first I was thinking that this would be a landscape layout where we'd go longer this way. But I think that having a portrait layout, which is what I'm thinking now, is a better idea just because it's more standard and people are used to it that way. So I'm just creating white space right now. I'm just making all this stuff white. And where this page is going to end is at the end of wherever this SRP gauge is. So I'm just reformatting the performance profile. Maybe I'll color it the same color that I did with the other stuff. And now we kind of have something that's starting to look decent. And what I'm thinking with the readiness gauge and the SRPE gauge is that we're going to have to pull a date so that we know what date it is. Even though it's here, it's nice to reflect it here also. Maybe we want the percentage of the maximum value also to be displayed. So I'm going to create calculations for that. And to do that, I guess to start with the date, we can simply go equals text. We're getting the text value of this cell. We don't have to do this, but I don't want it to display the whole date because that's pretty long and I don't want it to overflow. I just want the month and the day. So I'm getting the text value of this cell and I'm going to format it in quotes, quote, mm/dd, and that to display the month and the day. And then I'm going to close that off and that's what it shows, 12:05, 12:05. But I also want, I'm doing and sign, quote, and a colon, and another end quote. All I'm doing is I'm tying things together. So I want the date and then a colon. Click enter. Now you'll see there is a colon there, even though it's hard to see. Let's make this the band script and let's make it 14, maybe bold. Everything's going to be kind of bold for now so we can see it. Now what I want here is I want the percentage of the readiness gauge, or like the percentage of the person's maximum readiness score is indicating. And this is going to be a little bit of a complex formula or relative to some other things. And the way that we can calculate this is we can take our readiness score value, which is right here, our readiness score formula. I'm going to copy it, paste it in here. all we're doing right now is we're just getting this person's average readiness score for this date. Now, I'm going to remove this if error stuff for now so that it's simpler to understand. It should work the same. I'm going to drag this down so you can see. So we have the average, and now we want to divide this by the person's maximum readiness score. And funny enough, an easy way to do this, if you're working with one of the most recent versions of Excel and you have the max ifs formula, is you divide it by, I'm going to copy this formula, paste it here. Because average ifs and max ifs work the same way, I can replace this average with max and click enter. Shows 1. If I make this a number, oh, sorry, sorry. So now we're dividing the average readiness score for today's date by the maximum readiness score of today's date, and that's 1 because they're both the same thing. I don't want to divide the average or pretty much this person's readiness score for today's date by the maximum for today's date. I want the maximum of all time for this person. So on the second half of this formula, I'm going to remove the date criteria that I have here. And now I'm going to click enter. And 0.29 is a percentage of the maximum. I'm going to make this a percentage, make it bold, remove one of the decimal points, make it even bigger, 16. And I'm going to add the if error to the beginning of this. So if there's an error with this formula, say make it blank. Then right here in the cell over, I'm going to say of max. Make that bold. Let's make this band script 14 and put it in the middle. So on 1205, this person had a readiness score of 28.9% of their best readiness score. That's not very high. And you can kind of see that here, even though this is not comparing that readiness score to his own or to his maximum. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, paste it right here. And now instead of readiness score in here, I'm going to change readiness score to SRPE. And the same thing on the max side of things, SRPE. Now we have the percentage of max for their SRPE and their readiness score. The last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my reference. I'm going to take this and take this. I'm going to copy them, or you can cut them if you can remove them after you copy them. I'm going to paste them in here. And I'm going to move this into the readiness gauge area. And it looks like there are borders around this chart. So I'm going to click on it, right click, format chart area, go to the border. I'm going to make no line so that there is no border around the chart. And I'm going to click on this chart if I can. And I'm already on the border area. Go to no line, so there's no border around this one either. And there we go. Maybe I'll add a couple icons too, just because icons are fun. So move this down. Let's move this down for now. We'll probably have to adjust these a little bit. Now I'm going to go to Insert, Illustrations, and I should get icons. When I do this, I'm just going to pick a couple icons. Let's say energy, or what comes up when I say energy. A little, all right, that's good enough for readiness. And maybe like a thermometer. All right, fine. I don't know what the icon should be. I'm just picking them kind of out of a hat right now. One of the cool things about integrating icons within Excel is that they're high quality images, number one, which my headshots won't be. I'll probably have to redo them. And also you can change the colors and manipulate the features of them. So let me make both of these. I selected both of them. I'm going up here and changing the height, 0.5. It'll automatically normalize to a box, so the width is also 0.5. Let's move this up here. Let's move this up here, and let's highlight both of these. Black is pretty bold. I can change the color of the icon here, and that's pretty subtle. That's pretty good. All right. Now we're starting to get somewhere. So this is great. And I think that let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's deal with the headshots. So what you'll notice is that this headshot is number one, like if I make it bigger, like look how big that box is. And also you'll notice that there's a border around the box. And to get Charlie Brown to be big, I'd have to make this box like huge. And it's kind of annoying and in the way of a bunch of stuff. We can't avoid that with these gauges just because that's the way that the chart works. But these boxes we can manipulate in our headshots area. So I'm going to make this box kind of smaller, and it's way wider than it is tall and has borders around it. So let's go to our headshots, and you're going to learn a couple of cool tricks while we do this. The first is I'm going to click on C. And what you'll notice is to select images, right? I have to click on an image, and then I'm trying to hold down Control and click on Curious George, and it's tough to do. You got to kind of like find a spot and keep on going down. An easier way to do this is if you click on C, or the column where the images reside, or the column with the cells in which the images reside, you can go to Find and Select, and go to Special. And when I go in there, you're going to see all these different things. For this, let's click on Objects, and click OK. What just happened is it automatically selected all the objects in these cells for us, which are all of our images. I'm going to go to Picture Format, Align to the left, and on my arrow keys here, you could do it manually by dragging them too, but I'm just going to keep on clicking over until they get to the very far left of that column. And some of them are a little bit out of place. I was kind of lazy on the onset of this, so I'm just going to click on the ones that are a little bit out of place, move them over a little bit. Paper's a little bit out of place. And then Curious George is kind of out of place too. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on column C, right click, column width, and I'm going to make it 5. Oh, that looks okay. 5 is pretty good. And now what I'm going to do also, click on column C, I'm going to make the fill white so that it's a white box. Or the other way to do it is have no fill and select this whole sheet or here and go to View, Grid Lines, and turn them off. That's probably the easiest way to do it. If you make it a white box, then let's do both just so you see what happens. Oh, man, whoops. I'm turning the grid lines back on, and it's a white box. Do you see that? There are no grid lines. It's white. Now if I go to my data viz, there's a white box where Charlie Brown is. I don't want that though. What I want, let's make this no fill. And let's click on it again. Go to View. Let's turn the grid lines off. Now, everything's white, but the grid lines are just off. When I go in, there are no grid lines around. I mean, it's not a white box, and there are no grid lines around the box. Now, if I resize this a little bit, notice how the picture is a lot more contained. I can put it in the middle there. Let's see how someone else looks maybe. Let's go Popeye Sailor, I think is another one. Yeah, I mean, the difficulty is that it's all kind of governed by how you set these up in the text boxes. I was a little bit lazy. If I put the grid lines back in, maybe I could be a little bit better about this, and maybe I will be. But and what you should have is I just pulled these random images from online. If you get like if you get website or if you get headshots that are consistent in the way that they're formatted, then you shouldn't have a problem with this. I do because I'm not doing that. But now if we change people, it should be a little bit better. a little bit more systematic and not crazy looking. So that's it for this video. In the next one, we're going to deal with the performance data, and we're going to make this look a lot better and maybe get into some other advanced stuff, but we're almost done. Good work so far, and I'll see you in the next one.